Hello, I wanted to do a little explanation video for chapter 5.3. I know many of you are commenting that you're struggling because most of my teaching has been done with Desmos, and now all of a sudden you have to learn some how to do these calculations for chapter 5 in ALEKS for the midterm. And I do apologize because it's out of my control with taking the midterm in ALEKS and allowing you to use Desmos. I wish there was a way that I could allow that one extra website, but it won't let me do that. So in the meantime, I have to change my course pack for fall because I switched this midterm to ALEKS. But for you all, I want to make sure also when you take the midterm that you're writing down all of your work, everything you're typing into ALEKS, and that's what you submit into Canvas, so that I can make sure that I give partial credit if something didn't get typed in quite correct on one of the problems. Okay, for chapter 5.3, so if we go back to chapter 4, where we learned about permutations and combinations, permutations are when we're choosing items and the order matters. So if I were flipping a coin 3 times, so I flipped it once and I could have heads or tails, I flipped it a second time and I could have heads or tails, or I flipped it a third time and I could have heads or tails. With permutations, that means down here at the bottom, heads, heads, tails would be different than heads, tails, heads would be different than tails, heads, heads. But with combinations, these 3 would be considered the same because these 3 have 2 heads and 1 tail. So for combinations, they would be considered the same. So if I wanted to choose, flip a coin 3 times, right? So n is equal to 3. And my probability of success is 0.5, because remember, a binomial distribution is only 2 possible outcomes. In this case, it's a heads or a tails. The probability of success is equal to 0.5. And let's say I wanted to get exactly 2 heads. Okay, so x is equal to 2. That means I have only 3 ways out of the 8 possible ways to do that. Okay. Now, there is a formula in 5.3, which when we use Desmos, you didn't actually need this formula, but now that we are using the ALEKS calculator, I want to make reference to this formula. It's in the ebook, and it should be on page 277 in the ebook. Okay, and that formula for an exact outcome is n choosing x. And this is the combinations that we did back in chapter 4.4. So we're taking n things and we're choosing x of them in combinations. And then we're going to multiply that by p to the x times 1 minus p to the n minus x. X and n minus x, these 2 exponents always have to add up to make n. Okay. Now, when we get to the other situations, and you're all looking at the explanation in ALEKS, which I love that you're being independent, but their explanation is way in depth for what we need to do. And so let's say I had n equals to 4, okay, and I wanted to find the probability of x is less than or equal to 2. That means I could find the exact, using this formula up here, the exact probability for x equal to 0. And then I would add that to the probability of exactly 1 using this formula up here. And then I would add that to the probability of x equal to 2 using the probability up here. So this formula up here would be done 3 times, and then we would add those 3 probabilities, and we would have the probability of x less than or equal to 2 if n equal to 4. Okay, that's a scenario. So instead of doing that, we have a button in ALEKS that is just the button that's a binomial, n comma p, and then x less than some value. Okay, in this case, it would be 2. And we are going to use this button in 4 different ways, depending on the situation. You'll see my other intermediate video that will do particular problems, but this is kind of the theory behind it. Let me know if you have any other questions. I'm happy to answer those.